Thanks so much, Sebastian, and welcome to another session of the impact of AI on our day-to-day lives. And today's session is on the impact of AI on the film industry. And I'd like to welcome our guest speaker today is Sébastien Janin. I'm very bad with French, so you'll have to forgive me with any of my terrible accents. But Sebastian is a pioneer of the film industry. He's been with Apple TV, where he rolled out Apple TV across 180 countries. He's also been with Canal, which is a French studio, and now he's co-founded Media Musketeers Studios. He brings towards his deep expertise in financing to the company and has a deep understanding of the film industry from financing to production. Also, I'd love Joanna to introduce herself before we kick off, and then let's go with the Q&A.
Perfect. So my name is Joanna Toderaj. I am the CEO of Speed Capital, where we connect startup founders to capital with deal flow from the European Union, stages C to Series A in the sector of health and AI. My background is in music and film. I have, for a small amount of time, I've worked for Al Pacino as an editor, but then at some point just pivoted to finance. But today I am your co-host, Arun.
Great. And Sebastian, obviously I missed out too many things from your bio, but I'd love to introduce for you to introduce yourself, and then we can kick off with the questions.
Yeah, well, that's true that I'm French, so I apologize for my strong English accent. I'll try to be clear enough. We've created the company Media Musketeers 5 years ago on the back of our experience at Apple, where I was driving the film business for many years prior to creating Media Musketeers. And since then, we've been creating films and TV shows, actually. We just are delivering right now 2 TV shows, one in France to Canal+, which has been selected to the Venice Film Festival, like just few weeks ago, and the second one that we just broadcasted in Ireland, actually. So we are doing international productions and very high level kind of productions in terms of quality, and the partners we have as broadcasters are mainly premium broadcasters in each of the countries we are working in.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thanks so much. So obviously, film and television is going through a generational shift, and you are part of the previous one. So you've helped move TV into the digital age with Apple TV. So in your opinion, how should AI tools be used for writing and editing so they help filmmakers without destroying the vision? And what are the best and practical ways you believe that AI can raise quality today?
Well, first of all, for us at Media Musketeers, AI is not like a future thing. This is something that we are using on a daily basis in order to improve the quality of our work and to make sure that this is working in the new context of the platforms and compared to the original broadcasters that were ruling the play until now. So I might use few examples of what we are using on a daily basis that could help people to understand how AI is currently reshaping the production and creative process. So as an example, we are using AI a lot into the script part of the process, which is a core artistic creation part of the process of creation. And the script editing is a very delicate play because that's where you are building the story of a film or a TV show. And the risk you are taking is to position it in the right way compared to your audience. And the AI tool that we are using for this is allowing us with a script to put it in front of a database of existing films and TV shows and to tell you what are the comparison that you can do with one or the other. And because you can do that, you can then expect what was the success, whether it's an editorial success because it can be an artistic success without being a financial one, or if it's a financial and commercial success on the other hand. So at the stage of script writing already, we are submitting our script to a system that makes a matching with a database that provides us with the feedback of it. Okay? We are also using the same exact tool across the process of writing, because actually sometimes the direction of the story is taking new angles, and the process is a kind of a recurring process, and therefore any decision you make can have an impact. Okay? Also in that area, you have an idea, which is the location scouting and the place where you are going to make a show or film. It can have a big impact on your financing part and on your partners as well that would finance the show or the film you are doing. Okay, so with AI tools, it's quite easy to optimize that location as well in order to make sure that this is making sense in a larger context. So I gave you just one example. We just did Faithless in Ireland, as I told you. It's one of the shows that we just released with Virgin Media and BBC in the UK. And Faithless was put into that system, and AI could find 12 comparable titles. Okay, and you had many ways then to present also to the buyers a comparison and say, well, this one was working, so what we are offering now is very similar to it. You can do exactly the same. Okay? So that's one tool, okay, that we are using. We are working right now on a tool that does post-production product placement. So that's the end of the process. So your film or your TV show is done, and then you say, oh, okay, I think here we could use I don't know, a Coke bottle or Hermes bag or whatever, okay? But it's done. So in the past, you couldn't go to a brand because the shoot is finished and you can't really change anything, okay? Now you can totally, and that's what we do actually, show exactly where the brand will put their brands and position it and get additional money from that. So those are two examples, but I could go on because we are along the whole chain of value of the production. We are using AI on a daily basis. So that's probably there is a big element as well that I should mention, is that we are using it a lot in the financing and tracking side of things, because one big challenge in production is that the value of a production is almost the value of a startup. And therefore, you can go to level of investments that are very high. So you need an absolute control on what's happening on the ground. And AI is a perfect, fantastic help and support in order for you to make sure that you are on tracks, to approve spends on the ground that are making sense when it is necessary, when you are overspending compared to one line of the budget, because it's always happening that sometimes there is a car broken, or you need a truck for something or whatever. So you need to be very reactive and flexible, not to lose opportunities and money. Okay. This is to show you that this is very wide range of things, whether it's artistic, editorial on one hand, or very practical or commercial. So at all levels, you can use AI in a very positive way to maximize your product and your production. I don't know if I am answering correctly that question, because it's...
Oh no, it was perfect. Do you have any homegrown AI tools that you're using, or is it something you're buying and tailoring off the peg?
Those are products that we are developing ourselves, actually, because we do that internally. I'm working with a company called Beta Series in France, which is a very strong data website and analytics for TV shows. And we have developed together with the research body in France actually a tool that is doing comparisons, semantic comparisons of scripts compared to the scripts you have and other scripts that are existing on the market, existing films, okay? And by the way, we are also using that specific tool for product placement, because once you know the values and the elements of a script, you can, and comparisons, you can very easily transform it to brand positioning and say, okay, well, that value is very significant, was very, Pretty Woman was very important in that domain. So we do something similar to Pretty Woman, that brand will be interested. Okay?
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. Joanna?
Yeah, so my question for you, Sebastian, is pretty simple. As having been a creative in the field myself, what is the worst way studios could use AI to push or trick audiences, and how would you protect the art and the viewer?
Well, as you know, most of the global players are using algorithms and very strong data-driven tools in order to push content. Okay, and in the context of AI, that kind of thing, that kind of tool can be dramatic in terms of driving nuts the viewers and trapping them in places where they don't want to be. And I would say the most dangerous element of all of it is really the fact that you have loops of how do you say that in English? But the content you've been viewing or listening to when you go on Spotify or on Apple TV or whatever, very often you have very similar contents that are offered to you, and very often it's convincing you that you should watch something or something else that is very similar to what you had listened to. Okay, the problem is that it's not very creative. First, it's always the same content that comes back to you, so you don't have that. And the other element is that you never gave your consentment to that many very often. Okay, and it's a very dark place when it comes to the way people are pushing content to you. So what I would say is that you have, first of all, as a producer, and that's more of a platform question, okay, because as a producer, you are delivering to these guys content that they use for their own thing, and they make editorial decisions for it. So your job is to make sure that at least in the place you can do something, you can flag when you have used AI, okay? Because I think that's one first element that is key. So it's absolutely not possible to think that anyone would not use AI at all, okay? So we are all going to use AI, but people need to be aware of it. And I had discussions about use of bodies as an example, and the representation of some categories of people and so on in the film industry and so on. So our job as producers is to make sure that if ever we manipulate the picture, there is a clear statement that this is not real people or not real voice or whatever. Okay? The danger is really coming from that side of things. So the way you create the visual representation of your story, and then the way the replication of it and the way the platforms are pushing it is going to trap you into a place where you don't want to be. And I think as well that the danger is that people are interested in truth, in reality, and in real stories, in real people, and so on. And you never make a surprise from AI. Okay, you don't have that discoverability, power when you just use things that have been done in the past. And that's the danger you have. The danger you have with the production itself, but also with the platforms pushing things in a way that will make only things that you've seen 20, 100 times before. And just to be clear, as an example, Netflix, which I am a big fan of Netflix. I'm not watching it as much now, actually, because I got the impression that it's always the same that is pushed to me. So I think there is a big of a risk there that interesting content get buried into the catalogs they have. Okay.
Mm. And then besides the algorithm, is AI being used in film in any other way? And I'm talking about from copywriting or screenwriting to actually on set and, you know, being used inside of the cameras or inside of any of the software that you guys use?
For us, well, it would be, I believe it would be totally, I would say, I would lie if I wouldn't say that I'm not using the generic AI tools that most of the people are using. Okay. The reality of it is that I know as well, because I am part of that world of tech, that those platforms are gathering, eating, using arts and IP things that are available on internet very widely. Okay. And because of what happened with Anthropics just like few weeks ago and few months ago, Anthropics just had lost a trial where they had to pay $1.5 billion back to the writers. Okay, because Anthropics had made machine learning on their work, and therefore now most of the platforms of AI tools actually are clearing rights back to the creators. So I am working right now with 3 companies that are buying like millions of hours of IP works to make them learn. So it's learning rights. It's called learning rights even. So I think the risk is there, obviously. There is a big danger that works could be used without the consent of the creators. Okay. But at the same time, there is a conscious of most of the administrations and the business creators that it could hurt so much the business that you need to put guidelines and real laws into place so that it's not damaging anyone. So, but there is a business around that. I mean, clearly it's creating a world that was not existing before, which is clearing the learning and humanity rights for creation. Okay, and I would believe that it would work not only in my industry, but in all the industries where people are creating their own works, you know, and that will be reused. So that's one part. That's the use of IP creations from others. Okay, and then I would say in the rest of the process of creation, I told you about the writing itself and the way you can use it and so on. So that's a risk, but that risk is more a decision that you make on a daily basis. It's more a support that you are doing with your daily work in order to go further. But I would say that it's opening many opportunities on the contrary, because it gives to the creators many tools that they would use to offer new content to the viewers.
Okay, thank you. All right, Arun. What do you
Great.
got?
So, what have I got? Let's see. What have I got for my foray of questions? Well, the movie industry really hasn't recovered from the pandemic, with Los Angeles film and TV jobs down about 30%. So, how is AI going to impact this? Because this is obviously a risk to jobs, a risk to growth. What are like 2 concrete moves that you would see towards keeping the creatives working?
So, well, we are back to the previous question, okay, a little bit, but I would say that AI is obviously a threat, okay? So you have a threat to many things that we just discussed. But if you do less, that's a threat, okay? but there is an opportunity if you do more. And if you do better, if you can gather more information to de-risk investors that would invest into the new creations, because it's a very capital intensive work to create video content. And the issue that have been through ages in the cinema and TV business was the lack of visibility for all the investors that would step into it. Okay. And when you are a producer and when you are asking people to make a risk, first of all, the fact that you have a way to make the analysis of the scripts and compare it to previous successes makes you comfortable to say, oh, but that show was working on Netflix. Okay. What we are doing is very similar to it. Okay. You can go even to the place where you can say the cast is going to be this one because we know that cast combined with that kind of movie or TV show is going to work for that client. Okay. The fact that you can secure investors and that you can do at a lower cost as well, because let's not lie, there is an element of saving costs into it. So if you can do for the same investment 4 more shows, as an example, that's more chances to get revenues from them. That's more people working on them. So it will create new jobs and new opportunities for work for these people and so on. That's for sure they will have, and that's the second part, I would guess, they would have to learn how to work in that environment because it will be more to do, but they will also have a scaling ability to do more and better because they know and when you are editing a show right now, you can do rough cuts and very easily you can put together the different clips so that you have a first cut of your movie or TV show. Okay, so that's where I believe the two things are are going in parallel. So you have one way that is doing more TV shows and more films, more profitable, and therefore more jobs for people. And the second part is increasing the level of each of the workers and people that are in that category so that they can work with AI in a profitable way, and therefore there will be more employability for these guys for other things, So that's where I see the opportunity. Yeah, that would be my answer. Well, there is another element. Sorry, I'm just thinking about it. We haven't approached that part, but one of the limitations we have in our business is the language and localization element. Okay, when you do a French TV show, as an example, it's not the same as to do an English-speaking TV show. The sellability of both is not the same. Same for Spanish. Okay, or whatever language that is not the majority language on Earth. Now with AI, there is a big, like a massive opportunity in distribution and ability to cover the world. So as an example, you have Top Gun being done, the new Top Gun being done in the US. It's in English. In fact, I can bet on you that probably in 5 years from now, Tom Cruise will speak a perfect Spanish, a perfect French, and not sure you will see anymore these languages with dub versions anymore. So there is a question, an artistic question there. Okay, there is also a risk because the dubbers are a bit of an important community in some countries, but the reality is really that we can expand revenues and ability to make money in that business very easily by just allowing the content to travel more with languages. So,
wow, amazing.
yeah.
That'd be amazing.
And I'm working already, I'm having my first French TV show where we are working on an Italian version. that would be partially for the secondary actors dubbed into Italian in AI voice, when the main actors will be proper actors, Italian actors.
What do you think Tom Cruise's French accent's going to be like?
Well, that's really weird because usually when you are listening to dubbed versions in each country, you have surprises because you realize how much different it can be from the original voice. So we have a Sylvester Stallone dubber in France that is very famous, and when Stallone is speaking in English, it's a totally different person, you know.
I'm not sure, but for me, when I'm watching a movie, even if the dubbing is close to maybe the actor's voice, it's very disruptive when I'm watching the movie and the dubbing is different and the lips are speaking a different language, and it breaks the movie apart for me.
Will the lips be in sync with his speaking?
No, that's really where we are heading to, Joanna. In fact, it's the fact that, of course, for me the same. But as an example, in France, people in Paris are always watching films in theaters with subtitles. Okay, English with subtitles.
Right.
But in the countryside, in France, anywhere outside of Paris, it's all dubbed, and people are used to see even the lips not synced with the. And I'm coming from the countryside, so I grew up in a place. Now I'm used to subtitles and I understand English, so I don't mind. But the future of AI is really lip sync. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna put my glasses on for this next question just to switch it up a bit. So you've been in this business quite some time, and at Media Musketeers, you guys are known to back bold dramas, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
If an AI said that it's 99% sure your show will flop, do you cancel it to save money or trust your gut instinct and go ahead with the show?
I think it would be absolutely mad to go ahead with something that says obviously that you are going to fail. Okay, so but the discussion doesn't stop there, because the process when you are creating a content, it's a recurring process where you're talking to people, you're thinking, and you're finding comparisons. Okay, and therefore there is always a good reason for failing. Okay, there is always, like, some films in the that just been released are examples of failing, and we were discussing the other day about the DiCaprio movie that failed and so on. It's a recurring pattern. You always have that. Okay, it's always for a good reason, and the reason is very often that why high budgets are not securing a success, and why those answers need to be so expensive for questions that nobody really asked for. Okay, that's really the main question of it. And when you have the AI telling you that, oh, it's going to be a failure, it's not that your whole project is crap. It's just that element of it, few elements. Sometimes it's the writing, the dialogue. Sometimes it's very simple. It's the programming. So imagine the final of the World Cup, where everyone is the football World Cup, where everyone is watching. I can tell you that whoever is releasing a movie the same day in Europe will fail dramatically. So you need to make the analysis of all the elements of that says that, okay, your film is going to be a failure, and then you change it. I will never say no for a final answer unless there is a good and too large reason for it. So if it's at all levels, you have all the criteria that don't match, then yes, of course, but it needs an explanation. It needs a clear pattern so that you can define yourself whether or not to move forward.
And then at what point I mean, obviously you want to get it in as early as possible. So I'm assuming from the moment that the script hits the desk, is that the moment that you would say that AI would come into play and kind of, make an analysis of whether the script is belongs on the market, or whether there's a sentiment or yeah, like an ask for that kind of movie, or does it come into play later on when you're choosing the actors, or how does it work? At what point in the journey does AI come into play?
At all points, all and every moment in time, there is a process in terms of human decisions in organization, because when you do a project like a movie or a TV show, first of all, it's a collective work. Okay, so you have like many people involved for one thing. Then you have the discussion with your clients, and whether you are at the very early stage of the project, which is the writing essentially, or you are later, the casting, okay, you have to make decisions, and that decision, you could have an accident. As an example, you could start a production, and that's where AI could help as well. You have a production, you have the main actor of that production that has an accident. He's disappearing. What do? Are you shooting again the scenes, or are you making a deal with the actors that if ever there is a problem during the shoot, you can replace them with an avatar? Okay? And that avatar, so the decision can be made to stop, okay, because it's a failure, and but what I mean is that AI is a permanent element of support and decision-making process. When you decide for a cast, right now, when I decide for a cast, I have already my script that I tested amongst many other scripts, okay? I know exactly what is the client that is going to be interested. I will twist my pitch to him in a way he can be interested, and I can tell you that he's going to pitch me back also what he wants, because maybe he doesn't want to repeat something. Even if it was a success, he wants a slight difference between what is existing in my script and what he wants. So there is not a final answer to it, meaning that that does not exist someone that is telling you, oh, there is 90% chance that it's failing, and you stop, because in fact you would be stupid not to listen, but you have also to readjust something. And by the way, I have a story of many films where, I mean, I remember a French movie that was an international success, okay, where the guy was in a wheelchair, pushed by a black guy, okay? Everyone was telling us that that movie will never succeed for all of these reasons. The reality is that if you were looking at the past, it was true. But the disruption of the invention of humankind in that sense made a big difference. And we kept going with it. It became a film that has been remade in the US and so on. It was a French movie, okay? So anyways, it's just to say that decision-making with AI, it's a good support, but it's also subject to the human decision and the articulation and the social relation you have with people.
And just one last thing I wanted to ask. Once you have the movie filmed, once it's done, it's filmed, it's cut, do you run it through any AI tools to give you feedback and to refine? And then what are those tools? Yeah, and that's my question.
Well, the answer is yes, we are using, especially when it's finished, actually. I am using those tools in order to make the analysis of what I did, okay? So that I have some real, very refined analysis of it. I have a human and many human people giving me feedback, okay, as well. And with the combination of all of that, we could read it and do things according to that. But again, this is one out of many elements that comes into play when you do that, because sometimes, and just the largest productions we ever did, okay, we permanently decided to go ahead when in fact we had tons of COVID things happening and element of lives happening and so on. Why? Because we knew it would be a success. And the end of it is that we are selected at the Venice Film Festival, and Canal+, which is the largest pay TV channel in France, is buying it. And we are selling it around the world as one of the top high quality kind of a TV show that have been made for 26 now, because it's going to be released in 2026. So yes, we are using, and it's a very, you will see, once you see it, you will see it's a very artistic thing that has never been done in France, actually. So, and it's going to be a mainstream success, I'm sure.
Thank you. Arun, maybe you want to jump in?
Sure. One last question from us, and then I think the audience has asked a couple of questions. Are people trying to bottle the minds of legends like Spielberg or Lucas, or train in AI or interview these directors or actors to try and create an agent that just thinks like them? So going forwards, you're institutionalizing Spielberg.
So first of all, Arun, thank you for the question. I believe the problem with that question is that it's at work already, meaning that, as I was telling you, some companies are already scrapping content from catalogs and making learnings from it. So sometimes you are asking a question and that's Spielberg that is answering to you, okay? But the reality is that repetition is not creation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because you did Jaws or, I don't know, Star Wars and so on, that those would work. And you can see actually from big companies patterns like Disney buying franchise and making sure that they are betting again and again on the same thing. So they are using the work that has been done by previous people, okay? That doesn't guarantee anything because people are changing. Generations are not the same. Social media are playing a big role in what's happening as well. So you need to have elements of, I mean, who cares? I am working on the script of Stanley Kubrick right now, okay? The reality of Stanley Kubrick is that for my generation, it was the #1 director of the history, okay? The reality today is that does people care really about Stanley Kubrick, or is there someone new? The kids that are living today are having other concerns or questions and things like that. And life is not as simple as repetition. I'd like to think, and that's probably a creative and very theoretical, and I'm philosophical right now, so let's be practical. But the reality is that I don't think ever you will speak to Spielberg saying it's the final word, okay? Even if it's existing, you will ask for an advice to Spielberg, okay? But when your 80 years old grandfather is giving you advice, are you taking it for granted that what he says is really what you live? No. You need a proof of yourself that this is really matching with your experience and what you want to do. So I think it's a great idea, and I think Steve Jobs at some point was saying that his dream was to be able at some point to talk to Socrates and ask questions to Socrates, okay? But the reality is that you'd rather speak today to, I don't know, the guy from OpenAI and ask him about what's happening in that business of AI, because I think he's got a better vision probably of what are the challenges you can have with that world, you know? So that's really my answer on this, is that, and you can't repeat something that has been done. You need to surprise people, and surprise is human. It's not a machine. It will never be a machine. Despite some of those people saying that AI will replace everything and so on, I'm not convinced at all.
No, amazing question. Amazing answer. So, Joanna, you want to go through the questions?
Sure. All right. Let's see here. I think the first one is Gaurav Singh. Strange question. I am interested in the downfall of the quality of CGI since the early 2000s 2010s. Example, Transformers 2007. Can AI aid with a revival of CGI?
Well, frankly, AI is a tool, and what it creates is the ability to demultiply your creative power. And I guess for that kind of post-production work, it's a typical place where, of course, it will do it even 20 times better
Yeah,
than it used to be, like
yeah,
100% sure. And it will be not only that, it will put that into the hands of the kids
yeah,
that didn't have the money to do Transformers like 30 years ago and that want to revisit it because Transformers is still selling or whatever. And you will see new creations with more inventivity and more creativity with kids that will, of course, use AI, but also create new stuff from that. So that's my answer.
yeah. Okay, going down, see Natalia I think this was meant for me, that Instagram has already a technology where the lips are moving right with the translation started this week. That's amazing. I haven't seen that yet on my feed. Another one from Guarav Singh, what about AI for movie ratings? Often Rotten Tomatoes versus IMDb are vastly different and biased by politics, exclamation point. What are your thoughts on that, Sebastian?
Of course, destination of website can be highly differentiated, okay? And IMDb is an Amazon company, and Rotten Tomatoes is not, okay? So you have also that filter that can, even though I don't know how they moderate both, okay? But the reality is that I am not using some of the tools because I am not the audience, okay? And that's just, I think, the result of the way it is shaped. IMDb it's a fantastic tool because that's the largest database you can find on films and TV shows, and it's a communication tool for professionals. So we are using it for our own creations. But the audience of it is quite limited compared to Rotten Tomatoes, that is a very wide audience and English-speaking place, actually. So if you want to go for German critics of a movie, you won't go to Rotten Tomatoes or French or even Spanish, okay? I didn't even know, and just as an historical thing, when I launched the Apple platform in Europe, Apple had an agreement with Rotten Tomatoes. So in fact, when you were seeing a movie or a TV show, you had the number of tomatoes and all of the things that were embodied into this. And I told to my engineers to stop doing it in Europe, because at the time, it has changed a little bit, but at the time, no one was using it outside of the US. So it was not even a proposition or an editorial. You're using it for an editorial input so that people that comes to your film or TV shows be trustful about what they would order or watch or whatever. And the reality in Europe at the time is that Rotten Tomatoes was not representing anything and even pushing back because it was very Anglo-Saxon in the taste and the likes of the films. And by the way, the availability of films and TV shows are for now very limited outside of their original countries. Okay, as an example, in France, only 10% of the French films are seen outside of the original country. In Brazil, they do 400 films a year, just 10 are going outside of Brazil. So it's just a statistics.
Okay. Arul, do you want to take the next question in the comments, or should
Sure. So from Sonia, again, my accents are terrible. Pronunciation, Graziani, former buyer of theatrical TV and video rights for an Italian film distribution company. how do you plan to sell the distribution rights and through what kind of support? A digital one.
For an Italian creation, then, is it correct?
I guess so. Sonia, can you clarify? Yeah.
Buyer of theatrical TV rights for an Italian film distribution company. Yeah, I guess it is. No, it's the reverse actually. It's an Italian distributor that wants to distribute a film in Italy.
Hmm.
That's the idea. I believe theatrical distribution is really tied with theatrical exploitation. Okay, so the reality is that you will still have, and that's a very specific element of our world in terms of business. Okay, theatrical distribution is what makes a movie or not. Okay, without these guys, well, you still have films that are going directly on platforms and so on, but the reality of our existence right now is that you still go to theaters. Okay? And yes, of course, there will be marketing done for this, and the use of AI will be exactly the same as I described. So the location of the theater's booking and all of these things will be held with AI. So there will be a statistical element of it. But still, you can't plan in advance that an event is happening that day in that place and that people will not go to the theater, knowing that for a theatrical release, the first day of release is key. So that's another strategy, another level of things. So yes, the distribution will be changed worldwide, and it's already changing. Films are on platforms day and date with theatrical. Some of them are not even in theatrical, they are on platforms. Okay. Is it better or not? I think it's better because there is a larger access to it, but it's still small because there is that question of language. Okay. Many films are not going outside of their original country because there is no versions. In Italy, as an example, it's a heavy dubbed country. So if you are German and you want to put a film onto an Italian platform or in theaters, you need to create dubbed. The cost of a dub is very expensive for a country that is big, but that the market is not that great in terms of theatrical. So you have to challenge it with the AI cost of dubbing in that case. Well, I didn't answer fully. I was a bit of a mess in that answer. Sorry for this.
No worries. Okay, I think I'm not sure if we have time for another question. We're about 10 minutes, or maybe you do. I have one last question. Have you ever been to any of the DiCaprio parties? And do you plan to invite Arun and I to the next one if you do go or have any tickets?
I'm not sure if you're nice with me, maybe. But to be clear, I've never been to a DiCaprio party. I've been to other parties, of course, like Coppola and things like that. So it's another time, another day. I think those days as well. Well, that's a larger discussion about the world that I am living in. Okay, which is a parallel world compared to the real life of people sometimes. And sometimes not that interesting. Okay, that's why I am very much for all of what we are discussing here and the support of AI and so on to give back the creativity to the people that have things to say. Okay, and the reality is that the world that we were living in was a world with very few people finally being able to tell their truth. Okay, and I think I'd rather go to the party of the social media guy that is creating his first long form film around the corner that speaks to me than to go to the Leonardo DiCaprio that I don't know party with people that are using electric cars. I love electric cars or whatever, but that I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I will go. I will go, and
Okay.
I will invite you if ever I'm invited.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay, I am inclined to maybe just drop this last small question here, if we can keep it under 2 minutes, let's say, the answer. It's from someone that looks at projects through an investment lens. He is saying, I think it's a he, yes, Anand. is saying that the movie Moneyball really resonates with me, not just because of the data, but because it challenged how value was traditionally measured. Do you think AI can help identify undervalued creative assets that might not look like obvious hits on paper, but could perform really well with the right data-driven backing? And if we can keep this under 2 minutes, just so we have a time to close.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that was less than 2 minutes. No, but clearly, I am right now revisiting, and that's part of the questions of the catalog that we had earlier. So you have films that never had a chance to travel. Films like Moneyball that were created in the world. I think if it's the same movie that we are talking about, it's a movie that was really specific to a target originally. But the reality is that, of course, tons of creations have their audience where you think I mean, it's not easy from a human point of view, living in Paris, Rome, wherever, to see that the story that you are telling will please someone elsewhere. And I have tons of stories like this. I am a friend with a novelist in Rome. The guy did 15 years creating his first book. He lost his wife at the time. And the first success he did was in Germany. He's Italian, okay? Bestseller in Germany, okay? So I think he wouldn't have waited 15 years nowadays, because he could see very easily that the story he's saying would please someone in Argentina or in Australia, elsewhere, that wouldn't make sense in the first glance. So, of course, it will help.
Perfect. Arun, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I've just, well, that's a wrap. I don't know if that's a real phrase or anything or cut. And thank you so much, Sebastian, for really informative session. I really appreciate it, as did the people who attended. And thank you so much, Joanna, for organizing it. I look forward to seeing what comes out of your production house next, and any insights going forwards. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone, for lasting 1 hour, and hopefully you'll see our creation at Media Musketeers, and with the help of everyone that is doing us great favor to tell about it and distribute it. So thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.